What's going on, PPF? Man, this feels good. Back here, another pod. First time in how many months? I don't know. Long time since like what did we do? Did we even? I don't think we ever did a final kind of championship one. My former co-host was supposed to do that and then decided not to live up to his commitments
Some
amongst
people never
several.
leave. Some people never leave.
Yeah, well, really excited about the season. I don't know about you, Andy, but I think PPF is to the moon. I think we have two really strong new members, one of whom is returning, and the future could not be brighter.
Oh, what a draft weekend. Honestly, it was probably the best draft weekend we've ever had. We don't need to go into full details.
We don't. Nope, we just sure don't.
We can talk a lot about that. We're going to spend the next hour or so talking about PPF, but I would be remiss to start this draft or this pod off on this day of all days to not mention my boys. Big 12, baby. We're on our way. We're on our fucking way.
Congratulations.
Thank you so
Congratulations. Much. Really big moment for you guys.
We have officially arrived. But back to PPF. What a fun weekend.
Does it get any better? The first week, real football, like stuff that counts. We got to watch a really actually good game last night.
Yeah. And we got to watch a football game in person during draft weekend. And then it's just been a week straight into a really good football game. And we're 2 days away from the best day of the year. It's 12 straight hours of NFL football.
Yeah, my wife is so looking forward to it. She has no idea.
Yeah, I had to send out the calendar invites. The Dolphins play at this time every week.
Yeah, so, I just have like a block on Sundays for the next few months. She hasn't accepted that on the calendar invite, but it is there, so she came and like, sorry, babe, it's been on the calendar.
I had that life, and now with the kid, I said, well, I get to watch the Dolphins. But I'll be obviously paying attention all Sunday and very much looking forward to it.
All right, well, let's jump into it. I'm going to pull up the draft results. This is the best screen I can find that kind of shows everybody's team, what we're looking at per position. We don't have the dollar amount everyone paid during the draft, although Andy and I both have those numbers ready. So if you overpaid for someone massively, don't worry. We're gonna give you your proper due on that one. But I guess first impressions, Andy, looking at the screen in front of you, who's your favorite team? Who are your favorite teams? Who are your least favorite teams? What's jumping out at you at the screen? What on the screen is jumping out at you?
Well, I think we have to acknowledge that it's a 10-team league. So if you're even the teams that I might think are bad are probably still pretty good and have a chance. I do have some favorites and some least favorites. I'm not going to talk about my team. Obviously, it's great. I think Keo showed a little rust. We just have to acknowledge it. Cam Akers pick. I'm not even saying.
Oh boy, it took us like almost 5 minutes into this podcast to talk about the Cam Akers pick.
Yeah, I mean,
I should have put an over/under on that one.
Should he have picked? Should he have picked J.K. Dobbins too? I was half expecting. It's not unexpected from Keo, but it's a solid welcome back and also like an introduction to Keo to all the new guys that we've put in since he's been gone. A very Keo-esque move. I don't hate his team, but I mean to just like straight up waste honestly, if you look at the bottom four of his screen there, I think those are all maybe borderline undraftable players in a 10-team league, but but solid team overall. I think Kenny, for your first draft, fine. I don't think he ended up with a great team, but we'll see. It's hard to judge somebody in their first draft in PPF. He was sitting there all the time nudging me, being like, I think we need to take more shots. I think we need to take more shots. So, but yeah, I would say those would probably be the two teams where I look at off the bat and say,
sure,
maybe not what I would have done.
Yeah, I don't disagree with either of those. Look, I think this is the obvious caveat. Way too early. Everybody loves their team. Most people love their team. We could have this conversation. We can, and we probably should revisit this draft like midway through the season and just see where we're at. And we may be totally off base on this, but from where I'm sitting right now, I kind of see a bit of a top tier, a middle, and a back. Of course, I love my own team. I'll leave that to you to break it down. But I am a big fan of the team I drafted. I also really like your team. I think you have a good combination of kind of like proven vets and guys like Kamara, you really spent big on, who are, and Metcalf, who are like really proven performers, are going to put up good numbers. And you also have a lot of high ceiling guys. I love the Henderson pick. That's the one that's kept me awake ever since. That and some other things have kept me awake for the days during the draft. But that particularly is something. Darrell Henderson not going to $9 for me is something I've carried with me. I think he's going to be a total stud. And he's going to get all the goal line work in a high-powered offense.
Yeah.
I love Cortland Sutton. I think he's very underrated coming back from the injury. I think you have again, the top tier proven talent, and you have the high ceiling guys. So it's a good spot to be. And the other team I would put in that exalted top tier along with me and you is Scott. I think Scott right now might be the favorite to repeat. I love that team. I love the Stafford pick. I like Fitzpatrick this year. Unquestionably, in my view, the best two running backs, Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. I think that's just like a phenomenal, phenomenal start. He got his man Tyreek Hill, who basically won him a championship after that trade with Rothbart last year.
Yeah.
I like Jameis Winston. I think he's going to have a solid fantasy performance. I don't know how long he'll actually be the starter because he's not good at winning football games, but he's great at winning fantasy football games.
Sure. I mean, we knew you were going to pick the team that had Derrick Henry on it.
I didn't bid on Derrick Henry this year. It was fascinating. I came into the draft. I think I might have even told you this before the draft. I came in like fully prepared that like if he's sitting there at $40, sure, I'll take him. I did not expect him to be nominated so early, but B, a pretty legit like bidding war between Casper and Scott, like two veteran managers who like really know what they're doing. Like two playoff managers from last year, the final managers from last year, right? Like they were both kind of bidding over Derrick Henry, and I don't know, he's a beast.
Casper had an interesting draft strategy. He bid up a lot of guys.
He did.
He ended up not getting them. And I don't necessarily love the guys he did end up with personally, but he was in it.
He was maybe the most active bidder, and maybe when we have him on the pod, we can kind of ask him for a little behind the curtains if he's willing to share. But he got the real guy. He got his man Stephon Diggs. Like that was the guy he wasn't going to lose.
Yeah.
But other than that, like you said, like he was in it till the end to some astronomical numbers for a lot of dudes, and then just ultimately didn't wind up with them, and actually ended up with a pretty balanced team, I thought. Like, which for him last year he was like the ultimate studs and duds.
Yeah.
Like McCaffrey, all these guys, and now here he has like a pretty which is like was me last year. Like I rather than having any like big superstars other than Henry, like he has a pretty balanced team. I don't dislike his team.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of in that mushy middle tier if I had to rank it right now.
Not my favorite team. I don't think he has any depth at all. And although I actually think Melvin Gordon is a sneaky good pick because I don't think Javonte Williams is going to get that much shine early on. I think Javonte Williams, if you can hold on to him through the first 7-8 weeks, I think he's going to be a really strong second half player. But I think Melvin Gordon's still going to be the one there for a little bit. So that could be a sneaky good pick. Let me give you one more I like that we haven't talked about, and one more. I mean, I hate to do it to the guy. I'll start off with the one I don't like most. This is a 2 QB league. It has been since day one.
Right.
You can't come out of this draft with Baker Mayfield and Zach Wilson. You just can't. You can't.
And I believe he's one of the only teams out here that doesn't even have a backup quarterback on the bench.
Listen, Scott spent the same amount of money on his QBs and ended up with Stafford and Jameis, which is respectable.
Yeah.
And to come out of a 2 QB league, 10-team league with Baker and Zach Wilson, my goodness.
It's not great. It's not great. And as we all know, the bench, there's not going to be anyone there in the free agent wire. Like it's not going to happen. Like once we get into the bye weeks, like right now, I think there's probably 3 or 4 starting quarterbacks that are available right now.
Yeah.
That's going to disappear real quick, and most of them are like the reason they're available is because they're not very good.
Look, you're a Jets fan. I get liking your guy. I mean, I picked Tua up last year, but you're going to go into week 1 with Zach Wilson starting. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and he has a huge week. I get it. He's playing Carolina. They're not that great, but you have to get points out of your QB position in this league.
Did I miss? Did he? Was there a transaction over there? I think I may have seen him picking up another quarterback. Let me pull his team up right now.
It's possible. We're still. I'll give you this. We're all still learning the
Yep.
fan system.
Yeah, I do not think he picked up a quarterback. You know what it is? It's that Greg's team name is Zach Wilson,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
really annoying. So whenever I see
Super
Zach
annoying.
Wilson drop the player, I guess in my mind I thought Zach Wilson was dropped because that's what a normal human being would think.
It's super
Because for
annoying.
some reason we have a team that's named after a player.
We might have to have a vote on making our team name. It's
Like at
super-
least add a word, right? Like Zach Wilson, like #1 fanboy or something, whatever he
yeah,
wants to
it's
say.
something. Zach Will. It's just weird. But I'll go back. Obviously, Kalman's team. I mean, it's hard
Not
to
great.
back to
Not
two-time
great.
camp, and he got off to a good start with Godwin. Keenan Allen. I feel like if Keenan Allen was nominated like 10 players later, he would have gone for about 2/3 of the price that he went for. And
He was a guy on my board who I was very interested in.
he's great. He's a great player.
Yeah, he's a great player. Getting a little older, but I still think there's some miles left in those tires. Like I was ready to pay for them. It just got too expensive because of how early he was
think this is
nominated.
how you end up with QBs, though. I think it has direct effect. Like he paid 39. He was like, whoever put him up. It was an interesting bid. He went like 34th overall, and Kalman had to go spend $39 to get him. And then you look back and you're like, damn, I got Baker Mayfield and Zach Wilson as my QBs. Was that worth it? Especially, I mean,
and to be quite honest, he's got a lot of wide receivers who are like Landry and Jones. Like in my view, like these are like kind of borderline rosterable type dudes. Like these are like veterans, like mid-career who like I wouldn't be surprised if by week 2 or 3 neither of those guys are on his roster. Like I'm not looking at a lot of depth, but he's got a backer. He's got like his handcuff. He's using one of our 4 bench spots on a handcuff for Aaron Jones.
Yep.
He's got, Corey Davis. I get it. Jets fan. You're stacking him with Zach Wilson. I get it.
That's not a stack. You can't call that a stack.
He hopes it's a stack right there, but like, I mean, I don't know. I would not be so confident going in with either of those 2 guys. It's a decent wide receiver. Well, look, it's good running backs for one. Like
it's probably the best running back.
Either that or Casper, or either that or Scott. I think are the 2 that I would put up in the top tier for running backs. And look, like your wideouts, if they return to their previous glory, like if you get like, if Jarvis Landry has a resurgence again, stacks with Baker Mayfield, right? Like if Thielen does what he did like a
stack where you're literally trying not to score touchdowns. Yeah, stack with Baker Mayfield and Jarvis Landry. Yeah.
I agree. I think in Kalman's quest, Kalman's like the ultimate like first place or last place team. If I had to put a coin on it right now, it's like doesn't look great, but it's very early in the season.
No. The team I was going to mention that I think is sneaky good is Ron's team. Ron always has his guys and goes and gets them, but he's kind of quiet about it. I mean,
he was a pretty active bidder, if I remember. Ron was like, especially towards the end, he was one of the guys I think he had a little bit of money left. I love
pretty proud of the league. I just want to chime in there. Pretty proud of the league. Like I know maybe at the end we had a couple like where you had $2 or $3 to spend on a defense or a kicker or something at the end there, but like nobody had $8.
No, we didn't have a flash, $42 going into your last bench spot and then kicker and defense.
No, but I do like Ron seemed to go with like an absolute stud at every position, at least one. And then fill in from there with guys that are gonna at least have a nice floor for you. The only real question mark for me on his team is QB2. But if Wentz is gonna play, then I guess he solved that issue.
Yeah, I'm actually not as worried about that because like if Wentz, it looks like Wentz is going to play, but even if he didn't, he's pretty clearly going to be here for week 2. So like he has really a 1 week problem. Yep. My biggest flag for Ron here is it's a 4-man bench, and he's got a lot of guys who are going to take, who are not going to necessarily either start or like prove their value week 1, right? Like you want Trey Lance to take a shot at that, that's fine, but like he's going to have to sit on your bench for a little while. Like Trey Sermon, like he's going to have to sit on your bench for a little while.
Yeah, Trey Sermon,
even to some extent, Michael Pittman, right, coming back from injury and with a new quarterback who he also has, like that, like these are a couple guys. Like it's going to be a few weeks before you can get a really good evaluation about like whether it's worth hanging out of those guys. And you can't necessarily afford to have 3 guys who you're trying to see how they do with a short bench.
I think for the first few 6-7 weeks, like you're only hoping to have one bye or two at most on your
Yeah.
team. So he's got Claypool there. I
Saquon Barkley, like, I mean, it looks like he's going to start. He's not going to be 100%, but it looks like he's going to start. Like,
yeah.
I mean, there's question marks here. Judy as well. Like, he's
Yeah.
got the high upside guys. I like the Pittman and Judy moves. I love the Trey Sermon move. It's just, can you, like, my view, like, you could take 1 or 2 shots like that of guys who are going to, like, you actually have to hold them and sacrifice about, like, for good men into the season. I worry that Ron took like 3 or 4 of those, and he might have to give up and cut bait early on 1 or 2.
It's possible. Yeah, that's the 4 bench spot makes it a little difficult to draft guys that you're waiting on.
Yeah, that's part of the unique nature of our league.
I think there's 2 teams we haven't touched on.
Besides our own. So I guess let's go through those other 2, and then we can do our own. We haven't really touched Rothbard.
Yeah. Rothbard was sitting next to me and was also, I think about halfway through the draft, we realized we were using the same guys list, essentially. And we came out with 2 very different teams. It's just interesting. I don't love Rothbard's team.
Nope.
It's not, and this is not coming out of spite. There are some guys on his team I like. Obviously, you're gonna like Kelsey. $45 for a tight end.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, he paid for him. But Kelsey is a unique player in this league. There's literally no one else.
Yeah.
So it's not just that he's the best at his position, but he's so far above the next best guy at his position.
For sure.
And it's a position that's barren and weak. I mean, like, there's not a whole lot of guys.
It's
there.
like it can be a cheat code for sure.
Right. The $45 is a lot of money.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Hopkins is a great player. I think he's going to see maybe a few less targets this year, in my opinion. He wasn't as high on the wide receiver. I think as a talent, he's like.
Do we think he's going to see the team physician and get vaccinated?
I'm not going to. I'm just not. These guys are going to do whatever.
Hashtag freedom.
DJ Moore, I like. But then the rest of his squad, and Nick Chubb is Nick Chubb. At least you know what you're getting there. He's a great player. I think 51 for him was expensive, but it is what it is.
It's expensive for a guy who's not the only guy in this. Like, if the other, I get there's a tremendous
like 3 or 4 guys that are the only guy, and so I get you got to get.
But those are the guys who should get $50 or more. Like, in my view, like,
yeah. But that's what makes auctions so fun and unique. It's like, it's so dependent on when these guys get nominated. I bet if Nick Chubb actually got nominated like earlier, he would have gone for less.
I can see that.
He was like the last of those tier guys that went. The rest of his team, though, I have serious concerns. I'll
just say it. Like, you're starting James Conner and Kenyon Drake in 2021.
Yeah. Or Philip Lindsay, we don't know. Yeah, I mean, these aren't.
I think he may have dropped Philip Lindsay. That's not what I got to check.
I'm just looking at the draft board right now.
Yeah, I got you. It's tough to, there weren't too many moves, but there were a couple things that just kind of shook things up a little early.
If Kenny Golladay returns to Kenny Golladay form, he could have one of the nicer groups of pass catchers in the league. But that's not a guarantee. Your DJ Moore DJ Moore is a wide receiver 2 in fantasy, and I'm like, Sam Darnold, you've been on that roller coaster. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't like the 2 of them together. Again, DJ, I'm not a DJ Moore guy. Everyone thinks I'm a DJ Moore guy because I had DJ Moore last year. I view him in the same category as Henry, and that, like, I feel like I got a deal on him last year. So as someone who likes every player at the right price, like, I liked him and was tortured by him all season. I think his style of play will not necessarily meld very well with Sam Darnold. I think Sam's got the chemistry with Robbie Anderson. I think a healthy McCaffrey takes a lot of the targets as well in the passing game. So I don't like DJ this year.
Yeah, no Curtis Samuel could help, but yeah, I mean, I think I'd put Rothbard in the mid to bottom third of how I view the draft. Obviously this caveat could be very wrong. Let's talk about Greg. Why don't you take
finishing up with Rothbard, I'm just looking now. He made a pretty good move in that he gave up on Philip Lindsay early, and he's now got Laviska Shenault in there as his flex instead of Drake. look, Laviska Chenault's not lighting the world on fire, but it's a good matchup for like a spot start against Houston. I think that's fine. I think it's an improvement on the board that we're seeing right here with Connor and Drake.
This is a guy that could have gotten drafted for sure. Mm-hmm. I would say if this were a 12 team, you 100% would have got drafted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What's the other team we want to go to? Greg. What can we say about Greg's team that we haven't so many times before? Because it's the same team every year. It's the same team.
He may have gotten the steal of the draft with Dak though. For 18.
What did he pay?
18. Wow. Yeah, that's nice.
QBs were cheap. I mean,
but 18 for Dak is like.
I paid 25 for Lamar Jackson, which I personally would nominate as among the steals of the draft. So he absolutely has QB1 potential.
Well, not QB1 overall, but
I think with the rushing ability he has, like
you have to be able to throw a little bit to be QB1 overall. But 18 for Dak when that was the injury discount and he jumped on it. No, that's a fantastic. I don't hate Joe Burrow. If I were him, I would have probably grabbed one fewer Steeler and had like a backup, like a third QB. I think he has two quarterbacks coming off season-ending injuries to start off with and zero depth. Like grabbing it, like he's the kind of guy, like he should have paid $3 for a Tua or something like that. Like that would have made a lot more sense. Like that's a guy I grabbed who I wasn't expecting to grab, but like I just had a little money left and I saw I saw him there, so I did. Like that was the move. I think like Greg needed to do something like that instead of Juju or something.
Instead of Juju, Antonio Brown. I mean, like he actually looked decent last night, but like to me, this is like that's Greg's homerism.
I would say that if we were doing this pod 24 hours ago, I'd probably say something different. But I mean, man,
you look good. You look good.
You're going against Dallas defense, which
going against like the second or third. They were selling out to stop Godwin and failing. Godwin was very clearly the number one, but Brown was, I think, obviously well favored over at Mike Evans, who is not looking at like Mike Evans did not look very good last night.
Well, let me. You're making a good point that, and we do this every year with Greg, but like you can't start Deontay Johnson and Juju. You can't start them both. So it kind of like pick one, maybe one of them gets hurt, I guess, and you look like a genius, but like you can't start both of them. You're going to start Najee and one of them already. You can't start two receivers and a running back on the same team. It just doesn't make sense. There's only so much to go around. And one of these Steelers guys is going to disappoint. Like,
at least one.
Yeah.
Like, at least one.
Yeah. And to then load up with three of them, whatever, it's your team, do what you want, but it's interesting. I guess if our biggest criticism is that you wasted $4 on Juju, it's not that big.
My biggest criticism is that he wasted roster spots on all those guys when he really needed to go get a quarterback. I like the Kittle move. I think if I can pull it up, I think he got a pretty decent. Did he overpay for Kittle? Let's say
he got decent.
$21. $21 for a guy who's arguably the tight end too. I mean, you can make an argument for Waller, but like. I mean, for less than half of what Kelsey went for. Greg's always been a tight end guy. If I remember correctly, he had like 3 of them last year in the draft. Like that, to me, that's solid value. I can't fault him on that one. It's just what he did at the end of the draft there.
You're either going to be in PPF. You're either going to be one of the 5, 6 teams that paid for a tight end, or one that wasn't. Scott really did well there to get Hawkinson for 8. Hawkinson was like tight end 4 last year.
He was, but he's going from Stafford to Goff.
I understand, he's the only guy.
Yeah, he's literally the only guy you have to cover in that entire team.
Yeah.
I was pretty happy with. I'll let you break down my whole team, but I will say I was pretty happy with Higbee. He was the guy number 1 on my tight end. I mean, like obviously I prefer Kelce and those guys, but like my draft plan going in was Higbee. I think he's a big red zone target. I think Stafford is comfortable hitting tight ends, and I think it's going to be a high-powered offense. And like I got him for $5, so I was pretty happy how I made out for that position.
Before we move on to each other's teams, I mean, we gave a cursory glance at Kenny's team. I don't think we actually.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. We didn't fully do Kenny or even Keo, but
Yeah, no, Keo we stepped into. I feel like.
Okay. Kenny, man, like welcome to the league. So happy, you got the full in-person draft experience your first year, something I didn't get. I don't know if it helped or hurt. But yeah, like you said, there's a learning curve. This is a unique league for a whole bunch of reasons. Like it's hard to prep for it because of the odd structure, the two QBs, the $225 budget. Like it doesn't lend itself
sat
well.
between us, didn't he?
Sorry?
Were you sitting next to Kenny?
Yes, we was
Yeah.
literally stuck between the two of us.
Yeah.
And we would talk a little bit during the draft. Like there were a couple times I even nudged him to like bid more on this dude because he was one of those guys who was actually sitting on a lot of money.
Yeah.
He eventually, figured it out, but like, he was one of those guys who spent big in the first third of the draft. He didn't spend a whole lot of money. I don't think he has the worst team in the league. I think that probably honor in my view goes to Gio. But man, the only thing I like about his team is Patrick Mahomes. Like there's no other player that I look at and be like, damn, this guy, like that's a good pick.
Yeah.
I think he overpaid for like to the extent that he has any other studs. Like CeeDee Lamb has stud potential. Calvin Ridley, a guy who I was really high on and had last year. I think like I really am not that high on Calvin Ridley this year as the only guy who's going to get all the double coverage. And I'm still with Matt Ryan.
I think he got Calvin Ridley for a great price though. Let me say that. Yeah, $36 for Ridley. Comparatively, for where Ridley, I think was pretty unanimously like a top 6, top 7 wide receiver this year. And he got him for the lowest price of those types of guys.
Yeah, I think I actually, if given the choice, I think I would take CeeDee Lamb over Ridley. And CeeDee Lamb for $23 is a really good deal.
Yeah, I mean that's a personal statement, but I think that general consensus was Ridley was ranked higher than CeeDee Lamb.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Like Ridley was like in the 5 to 7 range, and I think Lamb was like 10 to 15. Like no doubt about it. It doesn't mean that I like him. I think Devontae Smith is a reach. Again, playing a rookie in a weird situation in Philadelphia. Like,
yeah, the bottom. Kenny had some questionable decisions. I mean, we just have to face the facts here.
Is Kenny an Eagles fan? I'm just looking here. I'm seeing Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Reagor.
Deshaun Watson, like, what, you really just gonna sit on that guy? Like, there's not enough bench spots, and you can't put him on IR.
That's the big question. It's like, do they put him on the PUP list or something? And if not, like,
not going to.
Yeah, then you can't waste a.
So you only got 4 bench spots. I think that's a little bit of a learning curve thing. Curtis Samuel's already hurt.
At least him he can put in the IR spot though.
And then I thought, I understand that part of fantasy football is about situation. It's also about talent. Gus Edwards for 21 was a lot, which meant that somebody else bid 20. Don't get me wrong.
I have to say, so I bid him up a little bit.
But you're looking at before even week 1 starts, okay, and you can't play Zach Moss in a 10-team league, and you can't play Jalen Reagor. You're talking about like $25 to $30 before it starts, which is a significant percentage of your draft budget, like basically gone, and just out the window. And I get $1 here, $2 here, $1 here, $1 here, but they are roster spots.
Yeah.
And roster spots are valuable. For Deshaun Watson's type of guy, where I would rather, if they came out and said tomorrow Deshaun Watson's coming back, he's playing, I'd rather spend $80 in waiver money to get him than I would have spent $1 to draft him.
That's right.
Yeah. That's personal opinion. That's who.
What did he pay for Zeke? Zeke who looked terrible last night.
$45.
Yeah.
I mean, it's again. I think the price. That's what it was going to take to get Zeke, right? Just because he didn't look good yesterday. I think if I didn't bid after him. I'm sure you didn't either. But I'm sure again, 24 hours ago, for like you got Zeke for 40, you would have said that's fine.
I wonder how much of that was other players were coming off the board early and like he didn't have the running backs were disappearing. We're like, yes, it's a lot of money. Like Jonathan Taylor went for 43 to Scott's team, and I will take Taylor over Zeke any of the week. I just think there's more there's better values.
I can't fault him for paying $2 more for Zeke.
Yeah. Okay.
I still think money wise it's fine. It's just roster construction wise.
Yeah.
he's got some holes. Chris Carson, I mean, $20, Chris Carson's fine.
That's a good deal in my view. Look, you know what you're paying for there, and like he's no longer like he's not longer. He's not a top tier running back, but like as an RB2 for $20, I have no issue with that.
You know what though? If Kenny came in and lit it up, and I came in and said Kenny had an amazing draft, I'd be pretty pissed. I think he had a first draft, and I know anybody come in, we've all played fantasy football, whatever. I do think
PPF is a unique league. It's a gauntlet. It's a very different structure. The auction thing is weird. The budget thing is weird.
I'll say it. There is some strategy to where you sit in the draft. I'm just there is. You put him between two guys who are going to be in his ear the whole time, and he was in mine too. But
yeah. The one I will give him a shout out on Jonnu. I think I may have told him to draft Jonnu at the very end. Love that pick. Higbee was number 1 on my board. Jonnu was number 2. Guy who's not going to cost much. I don't even know what did he pay for him, $1 or $2 probably.
Yeah,
like that's a fantastic move in my view. I think Jonnu, like Mac Jones is like going to look for the one big dude in the front of the field. I know they have a lot of tight ends, but he's going to have to be dumping the ball off a lot. Rookie quarterback, no wide receivers to speak of in New England. That's my favorite pick on his board.
Good. You're right. You and I talked about Keogh before we started the draft, but let's go over it.
Look, he's got like looking at the quarterback portion of it, like that's a hell of a 2005 quarterback matchup. It's still pretty good in 2021. Other than myself, I think I would venture to say I think it's probably the second best QB pair.
It's a great pair.
Keogh, and then like McCaffrey, like you have to go pay for a guy like that, right? I mean, like in every draft, McCaffrey's going to be the most expensive. Although I think Kamara might have been a little more than
I think I end up paying a lot more for Kamara.
It was 72 over 76.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Don't worry. I get words for you on that one. But yeah, like McCaffrey, like you really want your guy and you want to spend for it. Good. It's after those first 3 that there's a whole lot of nothing. You wind up going crazy for AJ Brown, a guy who I obviously very much wanted and bid him up. And I think he paid $48 for AJ Brown. He's got 4 players on his team. He's got 2 quarterbacks. He's got AJ Brown. He's got Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. I think you like Tyler Lockett. I don't like Tyler Lockett
more than you do. I don't
like Tyler Lockett because he's going to give you those 0 weeks, right? Like Lockett's the kind of guy who can get you. Like he's not a consistent product. He can have the big weeks when he just like blows up because Russ likes him that day, or he can have the weeks when he puts up a nothing burger.
Lockett's the type of guy where you have to have enough floor players on your team that you can play him and be okay with the up and down. And Keogh's got the beginning of that type of roster, but not the end of it. So
I mean, he's got his quarterbacks have fantastic floors.
Quarterbacks, you got to think AJ Brown's going to get 8 to 10 targets a game, and obviously McCaffrey
and Andrews is another high floor type of guy because he's again no receivers and no running backs, so he's going to get the target.
I think you're talking about half of Keogh's roster being wasted. I really do. I mean, Nelson Aguilar is already not going to play week 1. He sucks, man. I know he's on your Pats now, but
no, Nelson Aguilar and him and Henry Ruggs are not rosterable in a top team.
Devin Singletary, you're never going to want to play ever. Henry Ruggs, you're never going to want to play ever. Henry Ruggs is like broke man's version of Lockett.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think any of these guys like. Literally not one of his bench players, I think, belongs.
Yeah. I love Jalen Waddle as a football player. You can't play him in fantasy yet. You just can't.
No, it's too early. It's way too early.
Damian Harris, I mean, maybe he should get some run, but I mean,
who's the last New England guy? Who's the last New England running back that was like really like a good fantasy contributor? Like, it's not the way Belichick uses them.
No. So
you never know. Like the guy who was the stud last week is going to like sit on the bench the next week after that. It's too unpredictable.
Leonard Fournette was having a brutal game until like the last drive when saved his week. I ended up with like 11 points or something. But again, you're not really wanting to play these guys on a week to week basis. And I get it, man. Like you could go out and be like, Brady's going to get 25 every week. Rodgers going to get 25 every week. McCaffrey's going to get 25 every week. AJ Brown's going to get 20 every week, and I just need the other guys to do something. Okay, the problem is even one of those guys has a shit week. I mean,
it's not great.
You're in trouble.
Not great.
Keo and I made $100 bet on who has a better record. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Oh
Keo,
my goodness. I didn't hear that bet. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
Wow.
that
Yeah,
was
you
at
should
the
feel
draft.
pretty good.
I think he tried to get me to bet $1,000.
Well, Keo, if when you're listening to this, I don't know about 1,000, but if you want to do another 100 on those same terms, I'll take Andy's team. No problem.
Keo's got it. This is new for some people. Keo's got a history of being a really good regular season team.
Okay.
But he might be a little rusty. I think when I was talking to him that he might not even have played fantasy last year. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I'm not sure. I just know that it wasn't competitively. We'll see how he does. We'll see how he do. You take 2 years off PPF and you come back. We'll see how it goes. That's all I'm saying. I feel good about it.
I think he's got a lot of work to do just in that bench, right? Like, I honestly think there's 4 guys he could drop right here.
He drafted so many players that aren't rosterable in a 10
Yeah, like Keo, when you finish listening to this, go back, pick up a damn quarterback. You have 2 good ones, but they're both old and could get hurt. Or like, do it right now. You're one of the few people who actually has easily droppable guys. Pick up a backup quarterback, like a Teddy Bridgewater type, some dude who could just sit on your bench. And like, that's worth a roster spot for you. Like, this is an improvable team because it does have like 4 good pieces. It's not just like balanced into death. Like, you have no depth and you have a couple studs.
Yeah.
Like,
you have 5 players that you're going to start every single week.
Right. Like this is a salvageable roster. If you pick up some, like, some rookies, some guys, if Waddle takes off, like it's a salvageable roster if it's managed well, but you got to manage it.
Keo's going to have a team that will lead the league in points scored some weeks and also have a team that will struggle hard some weeks. It just takes 1 or 2 of these guys not to have a good week, and nobody is good every game. They're just not. So yeah. All right. True. Do you want to do it where
I'll start with yours.
You want to break down your own team?
Let me break down yours and feel free to jump in. I don't think we have to be like, you don't have to just sit here in silence, and you can give us the logic behind your picks if you, depending how much strategy you want to give away.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear me go pick by pick though.
I'm just looking quickly at how much he pays. Yeah, like Kamara's obviously the big one that sticks out. Yep. And $76. Again, you got to go and get your guy. I get that. He's a guy who just was tremendous last year and the year before. Like, he's a guy who has done tremendous work for you before. I could not imagine ever spending $76 on a player. That, to me, I think you didn't quite spike your own draft because you wound up getting very not just fortunate. You deserve a little credit for actually managing this well yourself. Like, you managed to kind of like get some really good bargains with guys like Cortland Sutton and Darrell Henderson. That very much saved you. But I mean, you spent a lot of money on Kamara, Metcalf.
I didn't want to spend $76 on him.
Yeah, but you didn't want to go home without him, and you weren't going to.
I wasn't going to leave the draft without one of the top 3 running backs.
Yeah,
I just wasn't, and I wasn't going to get McCaffrey because he fucked me last year, and Dalvin Cook. I have nothing against him. Actually, I think he's great. I've just never had him on a fantasy team, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to leave the draft without one of those 3 guys.
So you made some very good points, I think, about starting Zach Wilson week 1, and I agree with all of them.
Yeah.
I think you can make the same points about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is a much more NFL-ready quarterback, and I think, like, he's more polished. So even though, the same age, I get that. Jacksonville's not a very good football team. Jacksonville, like, they are, like, this season for them is about his development and like learning, and like they're not trying necessarily even win football games anymore. To me, you having Trevor Lawrence as a starting quarterback without even a backup right now, that's a big vulnerability on your roster.
Yeah, I agree. And I will say, look at Trevor Lawrence's weapons versus Zach Wilson's weapons, and you're looking at 2 different things. Trevor Lawrence has NFL receivers on his team.
Laviska Shenault and Marvin Jones, like, okay.
And I feel like they have somebody else too. DJ Chark is good.
Okay.
I just think that.
I don't think that's so much better than Corey Davis and Elijah Moore and Denzel Mims and Jamison Crowder. Like,
listen to yourself. Jamison Crowder's isn't Jamison Crowder on the pup? And
he's the number 4 in any case. Look, I mean,
don't most people consider Denzel Mims like one of the biggest busts of the draft last year?
No, I don't know. Mims was good when he was on the field. He was just hurt.
Right. I think that, and
Second rounder.
look, and we're going up against the Texans this week. I'm playing week to week. I hear you. I didn't go into the draft being like I'm taking Trevor Lawrence and he's going to be a top 10 guy. Like, that's not how I went. I think, like you said, I had to drop some cat. I knew I was going to get a top 3 wide receiver or running back.
That is always your strategy. You need a top QB, a top wide receiver, and top running back. Like,
and I
you are like
I was going to get
studs and duds. This is like the Casper strategy from last year that served him well. But
I knew I was going to get Metcalf. 100% I was going to get DK Metcalf. I would have paid whatever it took to get him.
And what did you wind up paying for him?
$48, which fell in line with the top tier.
It did. Look, I mean, he's better than AJ Brown, who got the same amount of money. Right? Like, I think you have him stacked with Russ, so like obviously that's a lot of eggs in one basket. Like that, like you're going to be watching a lot of 4 o'clock games because you got the Seahawks are going to determine your weeks.
Yeah.
There's no doubt Kamara's a stud. There's no doubt Metcalf is a stud, and there's no doubt Russell Wilson is a stud. You are top heavy. And like last year, like injuries can happen to everybody else. You, I think, are uniquely, you're because of how much you were invested in one guy at each of the positions. You're like an injury away from like disaster, right?
I think I have great running back depth. I think I have the best running back depth in the league. In my opinion.
Okay. I've always just hated Joe Mixon. That's just like a personal
that's fine.
He's on my do not draft list.
I mean, I don't like him as a human, but he should be pretty good for fantasy. And Josh Jacobs was like RB8 last year.
Yeah.
And Henderson should be a playable running back.
If it were me looking there, I think Henderson would be starting probably over Jacobs. But I mean,
I have Henderson in over Jacobs.
Yeah. Tony Pollard. I don't know if that's a rosterable.
He already got dropped.
Okay. Look, I think you bought your lottery tickets correctly. Cortland Sutton is a fantastic lottery ticket. Henderson is more than that because he's already proven to be a talented back, and now like with Akers out, like he has this like the backfield and situation to him. I don't think Sony Michel is a threat at all. I think he's just like Sony Michel's not a very good running back. So yeah, I think you have definitely running back position.
My biggest hole is wide receivers
and quarterback. I mean, you have one quarterback.
Yeah. I think that's true.
And Gesicki, I don't know. That's homerism.
I don't think so, but I think that people are sleeping on him. But it's like I was one of the teams that said I'm not going to pay for a tight end. So it's like pick your poison.
Yeah, sure.
One of those guys do you want? And he was the one that wanted. All right, let's talk about your team.
Let me have it.
Let me scroll over to Pasch. All right. Good quarterbacks. I don't think much more needs to be said. You're right up there with Keogh with best quarterbacks. Doing it very differently than him, but
my guys can both run also.
That's the thing.
And one of them can throw.
Yeah, that's the cheat code. Lamar. The stuff that's happening around the Ravens isn't helpful for Lamar. No. If you own Lamar in fantasy, you don't want him running 20 times a game. You just don't. He's going to get hurt. I mean, he has an extremely high floor. I'll give you that. And he's going to have to learn to adapt this year, I think. He's going to have to throw some, and I'm not sure he's proven the ability to do it. I'm not saying that you waste any money or I wouldn't take. I think I bid on him up to that, and I think
me and you were one of the last bidders. I got him for 25. I would have gotten him for like 18 if you didn't start bidding.
Yeah, I really didn't want him, but also it was one of those situations where like the guy he's valued at a certain point.
Correct.
And, I think I feel the way about David Montgomery that you feel about Joe Mixon. I really don't like him.
I think he ended as like running back 3 last year.
Fantasy, and I think it was all in like 4 weeks. I think at the end of the year he came on really strong. I really don't like him, but I get why you got him. Antonio Gibson, I love him. I think that's a great pick, especially when you looked at the prices of like Najee and
I was determined going into the draft not to pay like 45, unless like a really like a top 5, unless a Henry or like one of those guys like really slipped. I wasn't even going to pay 40. I didn't even want to pay $40 for somebody. Like I saw the value in other guys I like. I saw the value in QBs.
I think Gibson got nominated in a good spot for you to get him too.
$31. I think he absolutely has RB1, or has like not RB1 overall, but like
Sure.
RB1 potential. So I'm pretty
And
happy.
there's been like really good stuff about him coming out of camp, catching more passes and stuff. So
Mhm.
I think that's a great pick. Woods, good. I mean, we're gonna see. He's not gonna be bad. He's not gonna be a bad player. So he should be better.
He's got a pretty high floor in my
Yeah.
view. Like he's got a higher floor than Cooper Kupp or some of the other receivers, just because he does get a lot of work.
He's a good
Yeah.
football player, and he got a better quarterback. I mean, it should be good. Higgins, fine. I mean, he's fine. He should be just as good as he was last year, if not better, which was a startable fantasy receiver.
Mhm.
Amari, great pick. I mean, again, I have to like put on my 24 hours ago goggles, but I still think he was a good pick regardless, and proving you right. The rest of your team, I do like. I like Robbie Anderson. I think you'll be starting him if you're not already. Javonte, I feel like, yeah, you have some guys, you're going to have to do some bench juggling also a little bit. James Robinson, I mean, he's got a whole backfield to himself. That's pretty cool. Carlos Hyde, I don't.
Not a lot of guys in the NFL. That's my logic on it. I don't really like him. Particularly, I didn't like him last year, but like there are very few dudes who have an entire backfield of themselves.
Your team should benefit from the new standings thing, because I don't think you're going to have any like bottom weeks. The way your roster is constructed, you have, Fields and Tua, and maybe you're trying to use one of them as trade bait at some point.
They're just both lottery tickets, right? It's like backing startups, right? It's venture capital investing. I bought 2 lottery tickets, and honestly, Javonte is also a lottery ticket. I bought 3 lottery tickets, and if one of them strikes gold, I'll be happy.
Yeah, right.
I have until the bye weeks to figure it out. Like I have 4 or 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah, I would say.
And then I got
because.
But in Tua's case, he's starting week 1, of course. He's we'll have
but you're not going to start. I mean, you're not going to. I mean, even if they're. I mean, maybe you have some insurance for Lamar. Maybe if I'm going to say you got.
If everybody stays healthy, then it's just bye weeks.
Yeah, right. Because it's the Field situation. I mean, hopefully he's starting by week 2 or 3. But we all think so, but. All that matters is if that stupid fucking coach thinks so, and he hasn't proven to be a great thinker. So I think you have a good team. I'll just be honest. I think you have a good team. I don't think nobody on your team you're looking like, oh man, like Josh Allen, obviously, but you're like, oh man, that guy's such a high-end stud. But because you didn't do that, you were able to build a complete team,
right?
Which is certainly a good strategy. All right, so. Do we want to just quickly make some picks?
I don't think we need to go. I don't think we need to go very detailed in matchups, because we've broken down every player and every team. And there's not anything really exciting to talk about. There wasn't really any big action from waivers. Someone spent $2 on something. Let me pull that up to give them a shout out. Let's see, transaction history. It didn't. I don't know. Maybe it's just like the fact that it's not the Yahoo. We're just not used to it. But Calvin spent $2 on Brandon Cooks, so there's the first dollars are off the board.
That's fine. I think, where's this transaction history? Yeah, I definitely have to get used to all this.
Yeah, I haven't figured out how to put the alerts on my phone yet.
I turned them on, but I'm not getting them.
Yeah. So I'm getting emails when guys become available, which is interesting.
I'm liking shit. I do like the Terrence Marshall pickup from Casper. I think he's these are all guys that like we're still so week 1. So it's like, yeah, these guys honestly they might end up being really good. We just don't know yet. So you got to basically go off like the top 150 players. Who are they? Who aren't they? Right. But yeah, any of these guys could be good.
So I'll run through them, and we can just give me your pick, and then we'll move from there. Scott versus Ron.
That's a good week 1 matchup.
Yeah.
Scott versus Ron. I'm gonna go. I think Ron's team's gonna come in hot and heavy later. But I think early on in the season, Scott's got the more proven players. I'm going with Scott.
I agree. I think QBs and running backs. take him across the finish line. I'm going Scott as well.
And Mike Evans obviously had a shitty week already.
Yeah. Let's do Rothbart and Kenny.
Rothbart and Kenny. Okay.
This has a lot of matchup potential, I have to say. This could be the matchup of the week. Zeke Elliott already played a disappointing 5.9, 23.4 out of CeeDee Lamb, which is nothing to complain about there.
Man, this is a good question here. Kenny, I'm gonna go to Rothbart. I'm going Rothbart.
I'll take Kenny. I'll take Kenny. I don't know. I think I don't like Roethlisberger, Chubb, both are two of his best players for Rothbart, and they both have really tough matchups. I don't know. I think CeeDee Lamb did just enough to bail out Zeke Elliott. I think Mahomes is just gonna have a monster first game because that's what great players do. I'm gonna take Kenny goes 1-0 to start his PPF career.
All right.
It's probably one more that doesn't involve us, and that is Keogh and Kalman.
Keogh and Kalman? I'm gonna have to go Keogh. I would have been a little shaky if Fournette didn't have that last drive, but the fact that he was able to
27 for Brady to start it off with, 10.9 for Fournette.
Yeah, I'm going Keogh.
Yeah, I agree. We've already talked about Kalman's team. You start Zach Wilson week 1. I hope you win, because if you win, it probably means that Zach Wilson and Corey Davis both played really well, and the Jets probably got to win. And it'll take me at least until week 3 to be fully in tank mode, rooting for the Jets to lose. So I'll my heart is with Kalman because he's got all these damn Jets. But yeah, I agree.
Both those teams had a good start though. He got the 23.5 out of Godwin. That was good.
Still going Keogh.
Yeah. Still going.
You and Greg.
The Zach Wilson, Corey Davis stack. That's hilarious. I'm sure he's going to score 3 touchdowns and whatever. Yeah.
From your lips to God's ears. I hope so. I will take. I'm going to take you over Greg this week for all the reasons that we
start from Dak, huh?
Yeah. It was a good start. 27 points is great. He didn't light the world on fire and put up 40 and make it he exceeded his projections and had a good start to the week.
If he had the balls to start AB, I'd be worried.
What did AB do, fantasy wise?
Yeah, but
23.7. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wow. No, I think you have a better team. I think you have more. I think you have studs, and studs tend to show up for week 1, when the lights are all on them. So I think you start off 1-0.
Odell list as questionable, but if I have to, I'll slide Sutton in there.
To be quite honest, I don't know if I might do that anyway. I'm not an Odell guy.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it.
And he has Baker, right? So that's a weird. Oh no, does he have Baker or does Kalman?
Oh no, Kalman has Baker. Yeah.
All right, last one. Me and Casper. The closest matchup projected as we were projected within a half a point before yesterday.
You and Cat, we didn't talk too much about Casper's team, actually. Or there's some guys that we didn't. I actually don't think we talked about Casper's team other than the fact that he got Diggs. And
we talked about Diggs, yeah. I like. We're happy to talk about it now. I like Austin Eckler. I thought that was a really solid pick. I bid him up all the way with him. That's one of the few guys that Casper bid, helped bid up and then actually landed. He was one of the few running backs I was willing to pay for. Sorry.
He's Matthew Berry's favorite player this year.
He's been one of the stat heads, the fantasy gurus have loved him always because he's a running back who catches a lot of passes. It's not that complicated of a formula. He was great. He was just hurt, right? That was the issue. He went on IR and then came back.
We didn't do this because in all the matchups, but it makes sense that this is projected close because he has really good matchups. I'm gonna have to give it to you because you got 40 freaking points from Mari Cooper. That's just that's a big way to start.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm going you. I don't need to break down his team much further, but he's got decent QBs, but he's going up against your guys that run, and I think everywhere else you basically got him, especially because Cooper already went off. Maybe he's got a huge week from Darren Waller, but we'll see.
Yeah, look, the guy you worry about on his roster is Stephon Diggs, and I need Diggs to stay under 40, which hopefully is reasonable. And if he does hit 40, then I've canceled him out already.
The matchup would be Diggs versus Cooper, and you already got 40. So,
right.
So I'm going with you. Yeah.
All right. So hopefully we'll bring back a couple of traditions. I wanted to get the bold prediction of the week from you, and then I'll do my question of the week. It could be PPF, it could be NFL. What's your hot take for week 1 podcast?
I don't know if people are going to think this is such a hot take for week 1 of the NFL. I'm going to go NFL because we just spent a lot of time breaking down PPF teams.
Yep.
People are sucking the Pats' dick this already, and I just don't get it. People are like, "Oh my God, Mac Jones is the next big thing." I think they were kind of forced into starting him, and they've done a really good PR job with the Cam thing. But I really I don't think I have not been. You're gonna think this is just because I don't like the Patriots, but I really am not a big Mac Jones guy, and the Dolphins' defense is really good. I think we're gonna win by 2 touchdowns at least. On Sunday, and I know it's a homer pick, but it is bold prediction because we are the underdog by I think 3.5 points, and the media is slobbing Mac Jones.
I would love to see it. I would love even more if you put your money where your mouth is and you made that your survivor pick for the week. But we'll see.
Survivor. I'll get your survivor pick.
I will remind everyone this week. We will not do it nearly as much in future weeks because it is on you to do it, but. Up to that Google Doc, it's full transparency, no funny business. It shows everything everybody updated and when they did it. So don't try to change your picks and shit like that. We can all see when you do that, but get a pick in, get it before your game starts, and send me $20. I don't think anyone sent me $20. Send me money. Yeah. Or am I collecting it, or is Ralph Bart collecting it?
I think you can do it for that.
All right, send me your $20. I will end this podcast with my big question of the week, which is an open-ended question. I'll ask Andy to answer it. He doesn't know what I'm going to ask either. But everyone else, maybe there'll be some chatter or some fodder for the chat. And it's self-serving because I want to just illustrate how wonderful the draft and a wonderful quarterback pick I made with Lamar Jackson. Will Lamar Jackson have more than double any other? Will Lamar Jackson have more than twice the rushing yards of any running back on his team?
I mean, they run a lot more than they're going to give it to a bunch of different guys. So basically, how many rush yards did he have last year?
So I looked these up.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson just passed he's got 1,000 rushing yards each of the past 2 seasons. J.K. Dobbins had about, what did he do? He did 800, and Gus Edwards did 700.
I mean. No.
The question is, do you think Lamar is going to hit 1,000 again? And assuming he does, is anyone going to hit 500?
1,000, but I think that one of these guys, they're going to have to run. And I don't think the Le'Veon thing is real. I think Le'Veon's going to get 25 carries total.
Le'Veon sucks. Devontae Freeman sucks. These guys are all old and washed up.
Those guys, Latavius will stick around. I think it's going to be Latavius and the guy I picked up. And
Tyron
I think one of those guys will have over 500. They basically have to. They run the ball so much that they're going to have to. So yeah, I'm going to take. Keep
your eyes peeled for Trenton Cannon. He was a hell of a. He's like their 4th or 5th string. One of the 2 guys they had in camp. Jets 6th rounder from Virginia Southern, I think.
Yeah.
That's the guy I actually think ultimately wins the job to the extent that someone wins it. But no, to answer my own question, I think Lamar is going to be their leading rusher by double.
Okay, that's fine. Good question, though. It was a thinker of a question. That was a good question.
Great pod. Looking forward to welcoming some others onto this over the course of the season. I'm just excited to sit my ass on the couch and drink beer and watch football all day Sunday. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for the chat to pick up a little on Sunday, too. I'm excited for fantasy. I'm excited for the Dolphins to crush my hopes and dreams. But PPF, great start to the season.
To the moon, and only getting better.
Feeling really good about it.
All right, be good, everybody. Go Jets.